the question today is, are these flight sim panels still relevant in 2025 for a product like Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024? And the short version of the answer is yes. If you can get one of these second-hand for a good price, they are definitely still relevant and still worth buying. I bought these two for $180 New Zealand off Facebook Marketplace, and they normally retail here for about $220 each, so a pretty good deal. The second thing worth noting is that when you buy these out of the box, you can't actually customize the controls at all, which sucks. But thankfully, there's a piece of software out there called Spad.Next. Or I don't know how it's pronounced, but anyway, it's this product here, and it's amazing. And this is actually the thing that makes this worth the money. This is the thing that allows you to configure what each button does exactly, and it does it via a direct link to Flight Sim. It doesn't do it through normal button assignments. This actually changes a specific parameter in Flight Sim, so you can do a lot more advanced stuff than just simply assigning buttons to certain controls. So for example, like here, this is sort of, I think, loosely based off 172 autopilot, but of course it doesn't have things like VNav and so forth. So using Spad.Next, you can reconfigure. So I've reconfigured the rev button here to VNav, for example. Same with down here. Look, you might be flying a jet which has got an APU. There's no APU here, but you can customize all of these to whatever you want. And that's all thanks to Spad.Next. So I'll get started, so here we are at a PC-12. Love this aircraft, beautiful aircraft. Sound like Trump now, aren't I? But anyway, we'll carry on. So starting off with the battery, we'll flick that on. So again, I've assigned it to start both turn on both battery 1 and battery 2. Now, I know, disclaimer, I'm not following proper procedure, but that's not the point of this video, so just go easy on the comments. But anyway, so that's going to come on, and then we're going to turn on a standby bus on, but I've used this one switch here to turn both the standby bus and both avionic buses on as well. And so that's there. And I'll chuck on our nav lights, and normally you'd put your flight plan and all that in now, but just to keep things going, let's turn the beacon light on and start the engines. So what you'll see here is I've configured the engine run switch to turn on when I go to both. So see, if I go to both, it goes to run, and if I go to off, it goes off. So I'll put it to both, and start is my starter switch. So if I go to start for 2 seconds, 1, 2, and then back to both, you can see the engine is now firing up. So anyway, while that's doing, let's quickly get a very basic flight plan in there. Now I've customized also the indicated airspeed mode selector to be the QNH or the barrow. It'll change that. So now this is showing in HPA, which is no good. We're in the US, but it doesn't matter. I haven't fixed it up yet. But you'll see when I change this dial, you can see it does change in the aircraft as well. So 3018. Usually this is a very small switch in the aircraft, and so it's a pain trying to find it and use your mouse to scroll through. So much easier here. So 3018 is set. We're going to go here and activate that. I'm going to close that. So that's in there. Now, as part of our prep, we've got to be at 10,000 feet, but there's a bit of terrain there, so let's crank this all the way up to, let's go 12,000. I think in Spad.Next you can also customize if it changes the rate at which you change altitude as well. But anyway, for now, let's do the job. Let's go. Yeah, that's one annoying thing. See that? It's going to click into a detent. So sometimes you've got to. If I go one detent over, clink. It's 131. That's one little annoying thing with this. Anyway, if you go halfway, there we go. It's normally not that bad, but anyway, one thing worth knowing. Cool, so that's it there, and heading wise, if we have a look, when we depart out of here, heading is going to be, you know, it's pretty much just off north, right? So that'll be roughly a good idea. sticking to that heading. Cool, so we've done that. Now we can turn on the generator. So you can see generator 2 is already on for some reason. That the aircraft comes like this when you load it up. But anyway, I flick on out on my panel here, and it turns the generators on. And if I press off, they both go off, as you can see. But if I press it on again, they both go on. So that's when I flick that guy on, and I'll just turn VNAV. Why is VNAV still? There we go. Cool, so generators are on. We'll turn on our pitot heat and flaps 15, and as you can see there, popping down on the flap indicator over there. We'll chuck our taxi light on. I'll just make it a bit darker so you can just clearly see the lights coming on. So that's taxi lights on, and I think we'll get the taxi. So I'll take the parking brake off and taxi to the runway. So as we taxi there, I'll just let you guys know, I've got a very simple setup here where I've got a simple Logitech joystick, nothing fancy, nothing amazing, but does the job. I've got some Logitech throttle levers, and I've also got a Thrustmaster. They're actually racing pedals. Just it's an automatic system, not a manual one. So it's got just accelerator and brake, and I've just assigned them. It was just cheap, way cheaper buying used racing pedals rather than used what do you call it? Flights and pedals. Right. So here I'll turn my strobes on, as you can see. When they come, and also I'll flick in our landing lights, and then it comes on. So again, it's sort of in the higher workload stages where this stuff becomes really useful, right? It's when you're busy and a physical switch is much easier to press than trying to move the mouse and hand fly it and taxi at the same time and all that kind of stuff. So that's the benefit you get from this. Cool, all right, so we're lined up here, strobes on, landing lights are on. I'll flick on lights too, and we will start rolling. Now, this is the PT12 NGX, which does actually have an auto throttle system, but this particular model, they haven't implemented it in very well. So the actual Toga D10 and MCP D10s don't work. So that's why I've resorted to just using manual thrust. Cool. So now what's really cool as well, if I pull the gear up, you'll see the lights also match the flap indicator there specifically. So if you get a failure or something, you will, retain a light on for that particular gear. So we're climbing out. Let's chuck on our autopilot. Let's go to altitude and then vert speed, and we're going to continue our climb at 2.27. And I'll let go there of that, and I'll press heading, and it's now going to go into our heading of 006. So now if I go here, you can see that's my nav track, and I can use my heading to take us towards that track there. And so, I mean, hey, this is the stuff this is why you buy it, right? You buy it because you can easily do all these adjustments. If I'm multitasking and I'm doing other work on my other screen, it's just so much easier having these switches here and being able to manipulate the autopilot purely without touching the mouse. So again, I'm turning left, turning right, you know how these things work. So there we go, we're accelerating now, so I can get my flaps up to 0 degrees. And we're starting to, you'll see this will go, nav will go green, and the FMA as well on our PFD will say, oh hang on, nav, there we go. And yeah, now it's going to fly along that nav path. So with Spad.Next, just the integration of the autopilot and all those things, only really works properly with Spad.Next. Some basic planes will work fine without Spad.Next. I'm probably butchering how they call it, but anyway. So yeah, with this with any other aircraft, this is where you really need that software. Now it's quite hilly here. We're going to start descending soon because we've got to be at a low heart at 10,000 feet, and we're 13 miles away. So actually, after all that climbing, again, it's a bit of a silly flight, but I'm just showing you, how this works. So I will make this 9,000. Just doing that annoying. There we go. And vert speed. Let's go down at 2,000 feet a minute, and I can bring the thrust down a bit. Yeah, I guess build quality is pretty good. It's plasticky. It's not amazing. The scale is a bit funny. I mean, like, these switches are normal size. That's all normal size. The gear, that's pretty good. I wish the gear had a lock mechanism where you had to kind of pull it up and down, or down and out and then up. That's just me being fussy though. Other than that, does a pretty good job. I'm not doing a good job actually of flying this thing out of mountains, so please excuse me. So yeah, this switch is surprisingly quite stiff to turn. I don't know why. It's a bit unnecessary, really, because you do use this quite a lot. This is quite large for an ignition switch as well, but anyway, it's the main thing is this does a good job of replacing using your mouse, right? That's the main thing. It's the cheapest, I think, I'm pretty sure, out there. If you get one used for a good price, this is pretty much the cheapest tool out there that gets you away from using a lot of controls with your mouse. So it's pretty stunning out here this way. This is in Colorado. I've been watching a lot of Yellowstone, really enjoying that. I know it's based in Montana, not Colorado, but it's all beautiful mountainous terrain in the northern part of the US, which is quite cool actually. And I'll just control the descent rate using vert speed, just again to show you how you use the panel. I did wonder if it would be annoying having to always use the mode selector. It is a little bit annoying. It's not the end of the world though, honestly. You get pretty used to quickly changing it between vert speed, altitude and all that. I'm going to try and get it back on path. And now that we are a bit slower, I can start bringing some flap. In fact, I should have done that a bit earlier. I can bring my gear down. I'm below my gear speed. Give this some drag. And I can disengage. Strobes off and leaning off. We can go flaps up. Our engine off. So again, as I mentioned in the beginning, the off switch here would put the engine run switch to off, which will then turn off the engine there. I can turn off these. Yeah, so I mean, look, you saw it in action there. You can see it definitely is a step up from just using a mouse. There's some other ones out there which are pretty good, but really the saviour of the day is this software here. This is the thing. I can't remember if I mentioned earlier, but it is 25 euros, so factor it into your budget. But I actually am still in the free trial, so you can trial it out for 2 weeks first. But I'm definitely buying it because this is useless without it really. One other thing I would say is if your budget is a little bit, if you've got more of a budget, then what I would say is WinWing make an FCU. Now you may not be into wanting a Airbus specific autopilot panel, but to me this is one of the cheapest autopilot panels out there. It's about 300 I think in New Zealand. But the main advantage with this sort of panel is that you can obviously change all your different autopilot settings without having to use a mode selector. And so it's just a little bit easier that you don't have to do this every time, change it, etc. So that would be the advantage. I would like to get that, but I just can't justify the costs right now, to be honest. But if your budget goes that way, I would say do look into that. Of course, with this, you don't get pitch trim, you don't get flaps, you don't get all the other stuff down here as well. So you're paying a lot more, but you're not getting everything this offers. But all in all, I definitely would recommend this. I think it's a great tool. It's just made that bit of simming a bit easier, a bit funner than using a mouse for everything. And I would highly recommend picking up one of these secondhand. Thanks for watching.